Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. Today we're going to do a deep dive into an iconic song that I've never heard before, Paint It Black. My only taste of the Rolling Stones thus far has been in the rather wild Sympathy for the Devil. And there's no way that these lyrics that I just read could possibly go with that kind of music. So I'm really curious what this more somber side of the Rolling Stones is going to sound like. Let's get to it.
Never to come back. I see people turn their heads and quickly look away. Like a newborn baby, it just happens every day.
I feel that this is more upbeat than I was expecting for the lyrics, first of all. But it actually feels like somewhat destructive and driven. At the same time, it has a more interesting take on the lyrics than I'd even expected. I was thinking, okay, this is an iconic song. I've heard people talk about it before, but there must be something about this that has a twist, and it definitely. Just looking at the lyrics, it felt like it was going to be more ballad-like. It felt like it was definitely going to be slower. Instead, the tempo is it's pretty brisk, actually. And it almost feels like there's just dread in the way that the music keeps pushing forward. Like that certain, I guess I think of it as gray when the world just feels like everything is gray when you're really depressed and there's this dreadful momentum forward. But in this case, black, I believe, is symbolizing grief. And it feels like the world continues to press forward throughout a person's grief as well. Go back to the beginning. A lot of interesting things here. Even just in this beginning, I think I'd read that there's sitar in this song. Such an interesting choice, right? Especially at this point in time, Eastern instruments aren't that popular in music. We start to see that happen a lot more later in contemporary music, but bringing that in, it almost has like a sort of spiritual element to it. Definitely feels particularly thoughtful, and the intro here has a little more fluidity in the tempo as well. It has I would say it's very ponderous. Pondersome? Pondering. I did not expect drums to drive forward right there at the beginning of the song. I think the expressive quality of Mick Jagger's voice here is incredible. Every time he opened up into the word black, there's this almost like comforting sound. And then when he goes up higher, it actually feels like there's anger in it. Like we're going through different stages of grief. Western and Eastern combined. Right, there's an opening on black. Again.
both never to come back.
Another thing that's really interesting about this second verse I'm noticing, he's really, really expressive with his voice. I At the beginning of this verse, we had a nice creak, this I kind of sound, and it sounded like a certain edge of desperation. There was a lot of vulnerability in it. And then additionally, as we're going along, it almost feels like instead of having a beautiful long line that's put together, it almost feels like there's stumbling over the words. Ooh. Excuse me. Stumbling over the words. Let's hear it again.
My darkness goes. I see a line of cars and they are painted black. With flowers and my love both never to come back. I see people turn their heads and quickly look away. Like a newborn baby, it just happens every day.
These lyrics are so good. I think the one that grabbed me at first was actually the flowers and my love never coming back. That was intense, but comparing essentially death and a newborn baby, then that they just happen every day. Like these are big monumental moments in life and just happens every day. Makes it ah, it twists the insides. I'm very, very impressed with the lyrics.
Heads and quickly look away. Like a newborn baby, it just happens every day. I look inside myself and see my heart is black. I see my red door, I must have it painted black. Maybe then I'll fade away and not have to face the facts. It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black.
That's another one of those incredible lyrics that I find so enticing so far about this song. This idea of if your whole world is black, it's hard to know which way is facing up. It's like I feel like I'm in Ender's Game, right? Where there's no sense of direction because everything is just black. It's not even degrees of gray or shades of gray, right? We've just got black, so you don't know up from down anymore. I think that actually encompasses the disorientation a person can experience from grief extremely well. It's got to be one of my favorite descriptions of that feeling like the whole world has shifted and you're just lost inside this idea of I don't even know where up is anymore because everything is just black.
Painted black. Maybe then I'll fade away and not have to face the facts. It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black. No more will my green seagull turn a deeper blue.
That was a great example of lots of creak in the sound, and he's essentially going in and out of it's actually if you were to stay in that creaky sound the whole time, that would be more of a Valley Girl fry, which y'all might have heard me talk about before. The idea of that is there's essentially just not enough breath pressure underneath the vocal folds to sustain a pitch. Instead, we're having very lax vocal folds as not enough air pressure is coming through. If you increase flow, Valley Girl Fry disappears. Here we have so much creaking in and out of the sound. It has that hesitancy that I talked about as well as vulnerability.
Up when your whole world is black. No more will my green seagull turn a deeper blue. I could not foresee this thing happening to you. If I look hard enough into the setting sun, my love will laugh with me before the morning comes. I see a red door and I want it painted black.
Major vocal tone shift there. It's interesting. Essentially we're getting it almost feels like it's just tons of verses where there's not really any chorus. It's like you have the first part of the verse and the second part of the verse, and the second part almost feels like a chorus, but I think essentially we're just having verse after verse after verse. Um, and it works so well because the lyrics are so beautifully written and communicated with so much emotion. Uh, this section, is it here?
I see a red door.
Right there. All of a sudden, we're getting a lot more fullness in his sound. That's more akin to the sound that we've been hearing whenever he goes to black, where there's a little more comfort in the sound, but there's also just a little more breath pressure underneath that's creating more volume, a more robust sound. Here, we don't have the fluff as much. We're getting that more robust sound, and it feels slightly crazy. Like it almost feels like it's becoming deranged.
Before the morning comes, I see a red door and I want it painted black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes.
Whoa. Whoa, those hums weren't just like they weren't pretty hums. When you think of humming, a lot of times people think of something a little bit more mellow. These hums are sent majorly through the notes. You can go, have a lot more soft palate lift in the sound. Or you can go, It's almost like he's got a wicked witch hum happening. But then there were moments where it sounded like it was matching a little flourish in the sitar. So I thought, well, maybe rather than thinking about the pointedness of a hum or the roundness of a hum, maybe he's thinking, let's just match the tone quality of a sitar, which tends to have a little bit more point to it as well. Suddenly the hums feel Eastern in nature.
Till my darkness goes.
So interesting. Very bold.
I wanna see a lady, clean as black, black as night, black as gold. I wanna see the sun, blotted out from the sky. I wanna see a lady, lady black. Yeah.
This has an amazing build here. In both the voice and the instruments, it does feel like the grief is uncontrollable, right? I think it was really interesting how at first we had some anger and different moments of grief. I know we have our lots of psychology that talks about how people process grief. Here it feels like there's this lashing out combined with disbelief. There's like so many different stages of grief that we put together, and the in the background, it almost feels like some of the instruments took more form while also becoming more wild at the same time. I, I'm fascinated by the way we still have this Eastern vibe that's going along with this Western kinds of sounds. It's so what a good combination. And it doesn't strive in any place here to be pretty, which I think is a really more accurate way to portray grief. Very nasal, even with their mouths open now. Before we get to the end here, I think this boo boo that we're getting in the bottom is really cool. I love that sound, and I'm also very impressed by overall just how fresh this sounds. Like this could have come out today. Uh, I I'm shocked. This is 60 years old at this point, I believe, and wow. And also, this band is still touring. Several of the original members are still touring with the band. Just wow. Wow. No wonder they can still tour and make such a splash because this could have been made today. Ah, wow. Yeah. Ooh. Ah, oh, fade to black. I wish I could fully grasp what an incredible splash this song must have made when it was released. It feels so, powerful and different and, raw and real to me now. What did that how did that affect people when it was released? Please share with me your experiences if you were around when it was released, or your experiences when you first heard it in those comments below or in our live premiere chat. I am so curious to know more about how this impacted society. Oh, wow. What an incredible song. If you want to hear some more analysis of just some old classic rock songs that shaped our world, check out this playlist over here. May you fall more in love with music every day.